The What It Takes Radio Company helping you reach your audience, and another edition of How to Be a World-Class Jesus Broadcaster. That's right. And if you want to be the Jesus Broadcaster, there's someone you just have to meet. Let's do that. Well, did that introductory picture shock you just a little bit? Well, maybe surprise you for sure. I hope it didn't shock you, but it might have. Yes, there's a story there. Yes, welcome to How to Be a World-Class Jesus Broadcaster. I'm Stan Houston. This is episode 3 in our recording and recruiting. That's right, because we are recruiting you and people like you who at least have an interest enough to begin watching this program, to be a part of the program, to actually be on the program, live in the audience. We do it together, and then it goes worldwide. And perhaps you actually have a major part in playing in the program. So that's why it's not only being recorded, it's also a recruiting. How to be a world-class Jesus broadcaster. My good friend Kevin put this together for me, and it's wonderfully done. But you see, the difference is it's great. I love it. And it's Jesus in traditional garb. Sure. Oh, obviously, the microphone's new. Obviously, the headphones are new. Well, that's great. And that's the one we're going to use. But from time to time, what I did is I called on my robot. Now, my robot, of course, is the artificial intelligence that I work with. And it truly is becoming, when I work with it, and I do it every day, it's beginning to know things about me. It's beginning to know topics and words that I use. I am incredibly surprised, and maybe it's even a little bit threatening to know that this robot knows quite a bit about me, and it knows how to compose things. And as one of the persons said, after I put an article together and then gave it to the robot, who had improved it very nicely. But my friend said, Stan, it was written kind of like you would speak. I could kind of hear you writing it in the words that were there, even though I know that the robot did a good deal of the work in editing it. Those are all of the things that are challenging us if you want to be today a man or a woman who uses, as I say, behind the microphone and in front of the camera. You are a Christian communicator. And if you are a Christian communicator, I hope you are a Jesus communicator. I oftentimes say now the terms that I use, I don't oftentimes say the word gospel. I say, this is a program. Is it a gospel program? Well, the words I use is, it's a program in which we search, seek, and share God's wisdom and tell the Jesus story. That's what we do. That's all we need to do. That's all we're called to do. Seek, search, and share God's wisdom. Let it flow. The wisdom and insight and truth that comes from God, not from us, but from God. We can add some of our own interpretation or our own wisdom from time to time, but let's not confuse the two. I think a lot of us do. But then we're here to share the Jesus story. And so we have this very traditional picture of Jesus, but then, obviously, here it is again. Totally modern, way modern. Total mass marketing, bold, bright, big, colors. Uh, the guy is well dressed. He's behind the microphone, and you can see a little tinge in the face of perhaps more the traditional picture. Well, who did this wonderful piece of art? I have no idea. The robot did it. I told him what I wanted, um, and there it is. I wanted a picture of a world class Jesus broadcaster doing a modern day broadcast, sharp, bright, bold, worldwide. And that's what I got. Well, that's part of what we're all about. Now, what I would like to do in here we are, recording number 3. As I said, I want to have a program where we are actually doing the program in front of a live, interactive, round the world, World Wide Web audience. And that'll be the program we do live. But then, of course, we put it on the distribution of all the podcast channels. We put it on all of the audio podcast channels, all of the video podcast channels we can. And it goes worldwide. And hopefully, then we have gatherings and we have presentations so that everybody who is in the business of communicating God's wisdom, that's right, God's wisdom, and telling the Jesus story, we're really good at what we do. And what you're going to discover is we have a kind of a trinity of a direction, a trinity, 3. We're going to ask the question, what is God's message for today? Okay. What are God's methods of communication? That's right. How did Jesus communicate? He communicated the Spirit of the Father, and he certainly didn't do anything that the Father would not approve of. So it's God's message, it's God's methods, but it's men and women, man's modern marketing media, because that's what it is. It's man's mass marketing media. How do we actually do God's message, God's methods? But then take this stuff, this electronic stuff, this technology, this towers and transmitters, and now, of course, the World Wide Web of communication, which is profoundly dominated by all kinds of things that are neither godly nor spiritual nor wholesome nor good. That's just true of what it is. How can we use that kind of medium to communicate that which is ultimately wise, good, and wonderful? Can we do that? And can we do it well? That's the challenge that's before us. I embrace that challenge. I've been trying to embrace that challenge for 35 years. When I discovered that, I really did love radio. And I had loved radio ever since I was 5 or 6, 7 years old. And that's after 12 years of teaching, I went, what do I want to do now? Well, go back to your first love. And then I combined teaching and radio and what I loved to do, which was help people be entrepreneurs. And then I became a business performance coach, and I still do that. And I put that all together. Now, with that in mind, I oftentimes say, and I have a regular podcast program. How to be a world-class broadcaster podcaster. Remember, I use the word broadcaster, not just podcaster. How to be a world. Now, that has nothing to do with any particular spiritual emphasis. This is for the people who want to be broadcasters, right there in the marketplace. I work in both worlds. And you should too. Yeah, I'm very active in church and this kind of work. But I'm much more active in the marketplace, helping people do what they want to do, which is guess what? They want to make money, make a living, do well. They want to build a business. That's what most people have to do. Oftentimes, those people who are in quote full time Christian service forget that the people that they're working with, uh, they have 40 and 50 and 60-hour full time jobs. And I remember one pastor who left the ministry because he knew he had particular issues he had to deal with, got himself a good job, but he wanted to be very, very much involved in church still. And he said to me, he said, I'm trying to be, but I have to confess, uh, I expected way too much of my people. I kind of expected them to be as involved and excited and put in the kind of time I did. But I forgot that they were working really, really hard. And, after a 12-hour workday, to then have to sit down and say, oh, okay, I got to get this done because I have to go to church council meeting at 7 o'clock. He said, I began to realize that maybe we could learn something about that. So I just leave that as an aside. But here we are for today. In that program, I have a little teaser in which I say, if you want to be a podcast broadcaster, there's a person you have to meet. It's right. You have to meet this person. Now, of course, they're thinking that there's somebody in the business that I should get to know, introduce them to. So you really need to meet this person. They obviously can help you. And so they're expecting me to recommend a particular person that they should study, maybe meet personally, but they really get connected with the ideas of that person. And then I rather shock them by saying, the person you have to meet is you. You know what? You really got to get to know who you are, how you're made, what you're called for, what you can do, what you love. You need to do some real deep personal work. First of all, here's what you're doing. You're taking the responsibility of taking God's wisdom and the Jesus story, and it's coming through you, through the microphone, in front of the camera, to maybe hundreds or thousands of millions of people. And a lot of that's going to be you. Do you really know you? Do you know some things about you that you wouldn't want people to know? Um, I sure have some, this full transparency would be pretty scary sometimes. But know who you are, what you're called to be, what your great passions are, what your loves are, what your interests are, what's your temperament, what's your personality. All of those things that will help you be really more mindful and present and be very full in terms of serving others. Before you can serve others and help others, you have to serve yourself and know yourself. The person you've got to meet is you. And it may be helpful for you to do some of that kind of work. And maybe the person you need to meet is a new view of Jesus too. All of us have views about him or who he is or what he is, but have you ever thought of him as that sharp broadcaster? Maybe he's bigger and broader and better and different than you ever could have imagined him to be. As someone said, The question is not what would Jesus do? Remember when we wore all those bracelets? He said the question is, what would Jesus do if he were you? If he were you. And in the Christian Entrepreneur Network, in our How to Be a World Class Jesus Entrepreneur, we oftentimes even take it one step back. We say, uh, how does Jesus think? How would Jesus think if he were you? Who are you? So there we go. Go back and do number one. That's your invitation. Number two, we gave you more information about this thing called Jesus Broadcasting. And now, here in lesson number three, we've hopefully introduced you even more to the idea, but we're also challenging you. By the way, I do a lot of challenging on the radio programs. I'll oftentimes say, with your permission, may I make an observation? Okay, want to share something I observed. With your permission, could I make a suggestion? Only with your permission. With your permission, may I make a recommendation? Now that's my business coaching coming out. Observation, I've noticed this. Suggestion, this might be helpful. Recommendation, I think this would be a good thing for you to do. Or a challenge. Why don't you do it now? Why don't you do that now? I challenge you. And then I always say, will you accept the challenge? Because you might not. Okay, now we know. I gave you a challenge and you decided it wasn't what you wanted right now. Good. Now you know. What's the next step now? And life is taking it one step at a time. Here we go. Thank you for your attention today. And I want you to sign up. Yes, subscribe. And then get in touch with me, stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com. But here we go. Who are you? Do a little self-audit about you, your business, your personality, your wishes, your wants, your hopes, your dreams, your state of mind, your state of spirit. Are you one of the 3% of the population who really know who you are? You have a deep sense of personal purpose. You have strong, powerful goals in mind and heart, mind, and spirit. You are doing all you can to learn and perform at your very best. You're trying to be a great service to others and be able to, in effect, as we say, know how you want to be remembered. Yeah. Someday you're going to be somebody's ancestor. Yeah. And when you are, how do you want the others, the youngers, to remember you? When they look at that picture of their ancestor, what will they think and believe about you? Who are you? If you're ready to do a little bit of that work, maybe you're almost ready, not just to be another podcaster. There's thousands and millions of podcasters and broadcasters. No, to be a Jesus following, Jesus led, imitating Jesus broadcaster, podcaster, performer. Remember, this is a bit of show business. And we have to show up with the good stuff, the right stuff, the Jesus stuff. Thank you for your time. Best and blessings to you. I'm looking forward to working with you so that we can make A change in the world? Oh, no. How about creating a bit of a different world? That's what he was trying to do. What are you trying to do? Best and blessings. Bye for now.